Sartain, would you lead us in the pledge, please? Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley.
Here.
Here. Jerry Sartain. Here. Joe Machado.
Here.
Michael Rather. Jared Barrett. I'm sorry, Zane Cantrell.
Present. Just for the record. You have sent out to you the minutes of the last meeting. Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes?
I move for approval if there's no.
I have a motion that be approved. Do we have a second? Second. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. They are approved. You have anything else that you need to? Okay. The first item of business that we have before us will be from Robert Kelly, and this is a request for a variance relief on the side yard setback. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2016-001 involving the property located at 2334 Aldridge Drive and filed by Robert Kelly. It requests variance approval for a side yard setback to be reduced from 10 feet to 7.2 feet in the RM zone. The structure is an existing home that has been recently constructed, and the new property owner is seeking approval to correct this encroachment into the side yard. As you can see, the house, and this is not entirely accurate because when we impose the aerials over the GIS layer for parcels, it doesn't always align completely. So the house does not encroach into the neighboring property. However, the house is 2.8 feet closer to the side lot line than the zoning provisions allow. And this is a picture of the existing home and the side yard that the encroachment exists. So there's a significant distance between the two structures. I don't believe it poses any kind of violation for separation of buildings for the building code. We have received phone calls requesting information on the request after we posted the sign, and no one indicated opposition to the request. And we actually received, and I've passed out a letter to the board members from one of the residents in this area indicating they were in favor of the request. And this was a mistake that was made during construction but wasn't discovered until it was too late. If it is denied, the structure will have to be modified in order to come into compliance, which would cause hardship on the new property owner. This is the survey that shows the exact distances from the structure to the side property line, and that concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this request?
I need to ask her a question.
We have someone representing this request. If you'll come forward, well, go ahead with you.
Danielle, is the letter from the neighbors, are they the next door neighbors that are affected?
Let me check real quick because I did not. Did they list the street address on that? They are the affected neighbors. Okay.
Thank you.
That would be 2330 Aldridge Drive.
Have any other information you want to share with the board?
No, I don't believe so. We've discussed it with all the neighbors, and they are all okay with it. It doesn't actually encroach on the home. There's still plenty of distance everyone seems to be fine with it.
Any questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
I make a motion, we approve the request, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion to be approved. We have a second. Gary, did you second? Okay. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Veronica Buchanan, Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Jared Barrett, Zane Cantrell.
Yes, it is approved. The next item we have is a request by Brett Nance, who is requesting a special exemption for a barrel pit. And what do you have on this, please?
Thank you. Application 2016-002 involves the property at 11,584 Highway 99. It is a request to extend temporary special exception approval for a burrow pit. They are seeking relief to the setback requirements for burrow pits in the RL zone. The site is a 71-acre site. This represents their third request for the temporary extraction permit. They have been operating in compliance with the conditions of the pre-existing permits. We have received phone calls inquiring as to what the request involved, but no one indicated any opposition to the request. And Mike Hughes, our county engineer, is here to speak to any of the activities or the monitoring of the other permits that have been established.
We haven't had any violations of our ordinances thus far, and like Danielle said, it's just an extension of the permit.
Showing pictures of the surrounding area as well as the site. As you can see, it is a large agricultural site, and this is just a graphic representing the locations of the existing ponds, the proposed pond areas, as well as the buffer that's required. And that concludes our presentation.
Go ahead.
I got a question for the engineer. Has this applicant ever had any of these borrow pits anywhere else in the county?
I'm not aware if they have or not. Danielle, do you know if they've had?
This is my only experience with the applicant regarding resource extraction since I've been here. I have not heard any kind of historical information in our office that there were other sites that the applicant worked on.
Trying to figure if there's any history.
Yeah, I don't recall. We've done some other projects with Brett, but I mean nothing that I can remember off the top of my head.
How long has this been?
It's before I started, so I mean this is what, its third time, Danielle?
This is the third request, yes, sir.
As far as I know, this is the only site. Okay. Do
Danielle,
we have
how long
anyone
has he
here
applied?
representing this request?
Pardon?
How long is he applying for?
Well, the maximum time that's allowed, which is 9 months, 6 months with a 3-month administrative extension.
Thank you.
Have anyone here representing this request? Give us your name and any additional information.
Eddie Nance, Brent's father. With this third time I've been here, we have no complaints from anybody that we know of. Just wanting to continue.
Any questions? Thank you, sir. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing.
Move be approved, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion to be approved.
I'll second it.
Have a second. Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Veronica Buchanan. Yes. Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes, it is approved. The next item we have is a request by Donald Bruce, who is requesting a temporary special exemption for a barrel pit. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2016-003 involves the property located at 2789 Rucker Road. It is a request for temporary special exception approval for a resource extraction or burrow pit on the property zone RM. The property is a 76-acre site, and the applicant has been before you on 3 occasions. He has received a permit for resource extraction on 2, and this would, approval of tonight's request would represent the 3rd permit for resource extraction of the site. The county engineer is here to speak to the site and how the burrow pit operations have operated. I'm just going through a few pictures of the area. We posted a sign on the property. We have received phone calls in opposition to this request and 1 phone call that was in favor of the request. And we posted the sign on the property, which I probably already mentioned. And this is the layout of the pond areas. They're not asking for any changes to what was originally proposed and approved back in 2013. And Mr. Hughes, do you have anything to add?
Yes. We would like, well, Don came in and asked if he could get some help on this. His permit expired October 31st, and we gave an administrative extension, but to continue to work, we suggested that he excavate out all the material in the floodway and then move it to higher ground and stabilize both areas so it's not a long, drawn-out process. My earlier concerns with this, being inside the floodway, is it's an area of higher velocity. The water can get in there and churn up an open excavation and send that sediment downstream. So my thought was to finish the excavation that's shown on the plan, stabilize that area, take that material to higher ground up here on this part of the property, and stabilize it, silt fence, grass, seed straw it, and then remove that material as he needs it elsewhere. So that was my thoughts on that. We've had several calls about this. We haven't had to write a notice of violation or a stop work order. He's been able to adjust what he's been doing each time, but we'd like to have him update his letter of credit for the road bond, and then also a reclamation bond to make sure that it gets stabilized.
Tell us the condition of, what's it like now?
Right now, it's in this area right here. It's about 40% of this whole plan. So he would, this whole area would probably be removed and moved up here to this higher ground. So was my thought. Just do it quickly, take it out, stabilize that area, stabilize where he's stockpiling, and then he could draw from it as he needs it at other projects.
Mike, you said you had never had to write a stop work order or a notice of violation on this site. Does that mean that there has not been any other issues on this site?
Well, he went beyond the period that he was approved for. He was supposed to finish excavation at the 31st of October, and then stabilize it, have it stabilized, and then just cease and desist. But he came to us, and we have the ability to give him a 3-month extension, and we granted that to him, but with the understanding that he had to come back here and ask for anything else.
And I asked you the same question I asked on the previous applicant. And I mean, is there any other of these going on under his with him anywhere else in the county?
He has some other projects. I don't know if Mr. Bruce is here. He can answer that himself. I don't believe he's got an extraction permit anywhere else, but I think this is the only one he has that I'm aware of.
As far as extraction permit. But has there been any other issues with any other properties?
Yeah, there's been some issues that we've had to, get on to them about, but this one on Rucker, we were out there Monday and inspected it and didn't have an issue with it.
So I guess what I'm getting at is there's been a history of issues with violations on different projects.
We did have to do a stop work order on a different project, yes, sir.
And do you know was this started prior to your coming on board?
Yes, sir, yes, sir, started before I started my, job here.
Follow up a little bit on the silt getting into the river from there is that we've had quite a bit of rain the last 2 or 3
Yes, sir.
months. Has that been happening?
We didn't see any evidence of it leaving the site, but the floodway and the floodplain, there's a statistical 1% chance that every 100 years that, or 1% each year, that the waters will spread out to a certain elevation, and that's called the floodplain. If you were to squeeze that water in and the water would rise 1 foot, that would be the floodway. That's how established the floodway when they do the flood studies. That's the area of the highest velocity in the creek and river or stream or whatever. So that's an area that they want to protect, and they don't want any open excavations, any structures, anything like that to inhibit the flow through this area. So that was my biggest concern when I started here, was that this is an open excavation over a long period of time in our floodway, and I didn't want it to continue. So to try to finish this out, we just told Mr. Bruce, so let's excavate it out, take the material to high ground, stabilize both areas, and just be done with it and get that area out of the floodway and floodplain.
Did you see any evidence of an effort to prevent this from happening?
Prevent sediment from leaving? Well, he has the erosion prevention measures up on the perimeter of it. So, and he's got the construction entrance, the gravel road leading all the way to the back. So we haven't had any issues with that.
Okay. Any other questions? Do we have anyone representing this request? If you'll come forward, please. Give us your name and any additional information.
My name is Josh Cannon. I work for Mr. Bruce managing this project. We're here today asking for approval for the renewal of our permit to excavate the soil and move it to a higher ground spot on the property. 75% of the soil that we remove is delivered just less than a mile away to 2 large subdivisions. We do everything possible to limit the disturbance to the local residents. We don't work on weekends. We only work from 8 to 5. And we do not work when the weather is bad or it has rained to prevent any type of tracking on the road or any problems like that. As the engineer said, we haven't had any citations or problems with the road or any other issues with our site at all. It's taken us longer to complete the excavating of the site because we are almost a mile from the road, and the amount of rain we've had dictates how often we can dig and not track material out on the road and cause problems for the local residents.
You're currently working as a site manager at this site?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you done this at other sites? Is this the only one you've ever worked at?
It's the only borrow pit per se. I've worked on another excavating of several ponds in the Bedford County area where it's not required to get a permit.
So what you're saying is this is the only barrel pit where you've removed dirt from the site?
Here in Rutherford County.
Have you in other counties?
In Bedford County, yes, sir.
Okay.
Can you explain why the October 31st deadline was not met for the renewal?
Like I said, the weather has not, where this is, anytime it rains just a little bit, we are not able to work, and it's just taken us.
No, that's not what I'm asking. I mean, the rain doesn't have anything to do with coming in and make application for an extension. Can you give a reason why you didn't meet the deadline of October 31st to renew the extension in planning department?
Well, I was not aware that we needed to submit an application to extend it. I thought that we had to come here at this, I was not aware that they were able to give us a 3-month extension. So we were planning to just present it to the board like we are doing tonight for approval again.
I know the chairman asked you if you've done any other work. Have you been before the Board of Zoning Appeals during the last year up here for some other site?
No, sir. This is the only time I've been in front of the board. It's for this site.
Joe?
If you take and dig it all out and put it up on higher ground like he's saying, do you think you can have this finished in your period of time that you're allotted?
Yes, sir. We can have it finished in the 9 months that you will be approving tonight.
Okay.
Let me point out to you, it is your responsibility as a site manager to know whether you're meeting the requirements or not. You can't plead, I didn't know.
Well,
You understand that?
Yes. So I was
Okay,
saying-
thank you. Any other question?
You made a statement a while ago that 8 to 5 is the hours, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you made a statement that you never had gone over past the hours.
We shut down hauling. We have employees and equipment that come in and out. Maybe 5:30. Maybe the truck might get there at 7:30, 7:45, but we're not actually excavating. And this site is almost a mile from the road. You can't hear it or see it or anything from any other residence or from the highway at all.
I mean, and I don't know if it's true or not. I'm just asking the question. So if someone was to say that you all were working past the hours or working outside the hours, that would be.
We do not.
Well, okay, you said you don't dig, but you do have equipment coming, so you are active on the site before and after your shutdown time.
Well, it might be like, truck getting there 15 minutes early or, somebody leaving, 15 minutes late, just like any other business, but we're pretty close to those hours.
Okay, my concern is, you're saying that the weather kept you from meeting the 31st, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what's to say the weather ain't gonna keep you from making the next 9 months?
Well, for the past 3 months, we've been working towards moving the soil to the location that we're talking about on higher ground. So we've, made significant progress in doing that in the last 3 months. So we've had the extension. So we are to the point to where, 2 or 3 more months of good weather through this period will allow us to finish it.
Any other questions?
I have one for the engineer. We've had this discussion about this being in the, next to the floodway, and our concern, is the floodway better off with them reclaiming what they got right now, or is it gonna work out for this to be?
Any special flood area with additional volume would be helpful. Most times, there's encroachment into the floodplain where it takes that volume away. So having additional volume would be helpful, but I don't want an open excavation for a long period of time in that floodway. That was my issue. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Question for, I guess, the engineer and Danielle is, okay, once he gets it all excavated and all piled up, does he still have to come before us to haul it off the property?
I believe you would, wouldn't it, Danielle, for an
For,
extraction?
for the soil to leave the property, the permit has to be active.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, appreciate your information. We'll open this for a public hearing. For anyone who'd like to speak on this request, would you please come to the podium, give us your name and the information? I understand you're speaking for a group, okay. Okay. We'll give you a little bit more time than what we normally do since you're speaking for the group.
I appreciate it, sir. Now this, we've got a copy of this.
If you'll go there so everybody can hear you.
We've got a copy, that's 73 of the residents that signed it, and this is the other 5. I'll give them to you when I'm completed here. But we also got video of Mr. Bruce running, and we haven't been able to present that into evidence, but we got him running with the lights on in the neighborhood, you know.
Did you give your name?
Russell Simpson, I'm sorry, it's 2936 Rucker Road. But like I was saying, we also got video of Mr. Bruce running, and the night lights are on and the dump trucks are coming through. And I've called several times up here and I talked to y'all, and we've also got the dump trucks uncovered. We've never, ever got the dump trucks covered. I've got video, and, you know, if you want me to submit it now, I can, or you want to see it later, I can.
Well, we can look at it later, but
Okay,
just
all right,
make
we
sure
can-
our people have it. okay?
But the first thing is, you know, I know he says he's running at 8 to 5, but what about the second shifters? And those dump trucks are coming out to the road. And my sister lives right across the street. She works second, so it's waking her up. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Somebody working second shift, in other words, is getting up at 11:30 during the afternoon, not in the morning like most people. And also my wife, those dump trucks are running through, they're hitting holes and stuff, and those tailgates are rattling, and, you know, somebody in their sleep is gonna wake them up. You know, and, you know, I'm gonna go through the list of what some of the people want. Like I said, it was 78 residents. It's primarily 90% of everybody up and down Rucker Road. And so we'll go through what some of them said. Okay, the property devaluation. This one's saying too much heavy traffic. He has grandsons. Devaluation of property, loud noise, dangerous trucks, roadway, dust in the house, in the air, heavy traffic, disrupting the area, disrupting long-standing residents, disrupting the area, disrupting the road. This resident here says too many dump trucks. There's some residents I talked to that said the dump trucks were speeding, and they have called law enforcement on them. And this resident says, stop the dump trucks. And this resident says the dump trucks is why he's against it on the road. Property devaluated, health problems. Some people are scared that this hole may contain West Nile virus later from the mosquitoes. This resident says devaluation of property and neighborhood and safety. Devaluation of property and safety. Too many trucks. This resident says the dump trucks are speeding down the road. This resident also confirms that the dump trucks are speeding. And this resident also says the dump trucks are speeding. This one says the dump trucks are ruining our road, which I have pictures of that. We have pictures of the road right now, and I have to say it's really in a bad shape. Hazards and dump trucks ruining road, this resident says. Dump truck traffic. No dump trucks. A lot of residents don't know what's going to go in that hole later, what's going to be done with it, if it's holding water or if it's going to be a landfill. They just don't know what's going to go in that hole. No dump trucks and no landfill. Dump trucks. This one says that the dump trucks are bad. Dump trucks on the Rucker Road is what this resident says. Too many dump trucks and they're speeding. Property devaluation. This resident says there are dump trucks running up and down the road and they're against it. They're robbing soil, tearing up the pavement, and dangerous trucks. Noise, property values, view. Too many dump trucks, noise becoming a mess. Too much noise and too many trucks. This one says also too many trucks. This one says dangerous, with dump trucks running up and down the street. They're tearing up and bringing property values down. Too many dump trucks bother me from resting. Work second shift. Dump truck traffic. Too many dump trucks. Too many dump trucks. Dump truck congestion tearing up the roads. Excessive traffic and noise. Dump truck traffic and possible future dump site. Dump truck excessive. Concern, reason is this one is concerned neighbor. Okay, this resident here says the dump trucks have almost run them off the road multiple times. I've had problems myself with that issue of them, of taking up almost a lane and a half, and you're having to yield them, because you're going to yield a dump truck even if you've got to get off the road some. I've had that same problem myself, I must say. Have encountered dump trucks, dangerous driving, trucks driving dangerous.
We kind of get the
Okay,
idea.
all right.
If
Well,
you
I
want
just-
to kind of finish up.
Okay, yeah.
We've got the idea of what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah, and you know, like I said, we've got pictures of the road, we've got pictures of the site right across the street where a hole's coming out, right where they're turning out, and all down the road, it's dipped in and out. It's really just destroying the neighborhood, and the thing is, the neighbors really don't want, we put up with it for 2 years, and, you know, we're afraid to ride our bicycles and stuff down the road because you don't want to look over your shoulder. There's 40 or 50, 60 dump trucks running in and out of the neighborhood. And, you know, we want to get our neighborhood back and be able to ride our bicycles and stuff again. There's quite a few. There's 40, 50, 60, I know. I've seen them just lined up, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can ask any of these neighbors, that's why they're saying too many dump trucks. That's per day. I know there's at least that many at times per day when they can run. I'm sorry, we do have neighbors. There's several neighbors that are here that we get up and talk. Thank you, sir. Thank God for this.
All right, next, if you'll come around, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to point out that we can't control what travels on the road.
Thank you.
James Avid. I live about 3 houses down from the site of the entrance at 2656 Rucker Road. We would like to present pictures to the panel and the committee of Rucker Road on which the dump trucks are traveling from the pit site. The trucks travel from Rucker Road to County Farm Road. This has made these roads travel hazard to the community because of the trucks taking over the road when passing day and night. Last year, it was stated in your minutes that this past October would end the truck activity on Rucker Road. We have videos as well as pictures to show that the trucks are still traveling from this site, which makes them in violation of your committee. The community would like to know if this would continue to be permitted because as of now, this is the 4th or 3rd year that rezoning has been permitted. We would like to hear your response. We would like you to know that night and day travel is affected by damage that these trucks have caused on Rucker Road. These roads are in dire need of repair, including faded center lines, edge lines. This also includes South Rucker, Long Creek, Wayside, Highway 241, which are all heavily traveled by the trucks. The home and landowners in this area are deeply saddened and disappointed in the committee's action or lack of action towards letting this issue linger. Thank you in advance for your cooperation in this matter.
Thank you. Next, anyone else? If you'll just start them over there.
Actually, once you submit them into record, they become part of the record and we have to keep them.
You may have.
Okay, I can scan them in and email them.
My name is Greg Mather. My wife and I live at 2978 Rucker Road, about 2 lots away from the excavation land on the opposite side of the road. Lived there for the past 30 years, and we and our neighbors have addressed this issue numerous times over these years. So most of these times, the Board of Zoning Appeals has denied the variances and special permits or charges or changes. We would appreciate your support again. I'd like to add that to continue to react to the same request at the same location is a nuisance to us and all the neighbors in the neighborhood. It seems appropriate to implement a method to discourage repeated requests, so our disapproval has not and will not change. Like I said, we've been here several times before. In researching the rules and governing for zoning in Rutherford County, it's discovered that zoning rules are to protect the character and maintain the stability of the residential, business, commercial, and manufacturing areas within the county, and to promote the orderly and beneficial development of such areas. I don't see how this request is beneficial to our neighborhood. Further, it states the property owner must show that the property is incapable of earning a reasonable return on initial investment if used for any allowed uses in the district, and you have to show actual dollars and cents that must be submitted, and that the property is being affected by unique or at least highly uncommon circumstances, and that the variance, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood, which, a borrow pit affects the neighborhood, and that the hardship is not self-created. I think you'll agree that there are many ways the property owner can have a reasonable return on investment other than removing soil. For example, turf farms, we've got that in the neighborhood now. Raising livestock, which we used to have plenty of that years ago, and it's disappeared. So a farm would be a welcome addition back to the neighborhood, or crops. There's no unique or highly uncommon circumstances affecting the use of the property. It is in the floodplain, as the engineer said, and it's not uncommon to the area. My house borders the floodplain. The variance will and has altered the essential character of the neighborhood, and the hardship, if any, was self-created. No issue until we started digging. So please consider that this property is located in the floodplain. The county engineer went on record in March 11, 2015 during this meeting that the land in the floodplain should not be disturbed. And I think we heard it again tonight. He stated this probability should not have been permitted. Also, did a little research on accidents in the area over the last year. Rutherford County Sheriff's Department provided records for 2015. Total of 13 wrecks, 2 injuries, no fatalities. The Highway Patrol had 6 crashes recorded, 5 injuries, and no fatalities. Seems to be an above amount of accidents for a 3-mile stretch of road. Rucker has 5 90-degree turns if you're coming off 231 to the end of the road towards Buchanan Estates. Negotiating this road with dump truck traffic only increases the likelihood of more accidents and serious injuries. Please also consider that the owner of the property was warned at the March 11th zoning meeting that road litter and trucks are not using tarps and would be tolerated, and the property owner has not consistently abided by these warnings. Numerous infractions have been witnessed and reported to the engineering department. He has continued to remove dirt from the property past the final day of the board, and the engineering department enforcement office informed us that a grace period is allowed. We understand this procedure, and we understand now that he can stockpile the dirt. The stockpile of dirt is not where it was shown up here. It's on another part of the property, but even stockpiling the dirt it's still being hauled off. So it's past the October 31st deadline.
Thank you,
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
for your consideration.
Next, anyone else? You've already been up here. Wait just a minute. I don't mean to cut you short, but we need to get those who need to speak up here.
Yes, I'm Russell Simonson. My daughter Sandra Simonson, 2800 Rooker Road. And I don't have nothing wrote down, but her house runs east and west of on Rooker. And down at the end of her house there, that's where they put the road. Every time they come out there, she works second shift. It wakes her up. She can't get no rest. And these guys run. They say a little rain comes. No, they don't stop. They're not stockbound, from what I understand. They're hauling every day. So this is what we got to put up with. But I've been praying that y'all would make the right decision here. These people worked hard to their homes, 30-some years out there. And now they're putting up with all this. They can't have no peace. But I thank you all for your time, and I pray you'll make the right decision here today.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anyone else?
Sir, could you repeat your first name again for our record?
Mr. Bruce, did you give us her name? Okay, I thought you did. Mr. Bruce, wait just a minute. Mr. Bruce, would you like to address the board? If you'll come forward. Thank you, we appreciate it. If you give your name and any additional information.
Okay, I'm Don Bruce. I own the property, and what I would like to address is the 40 or 50 dump trucks running bumper to bumper. Our track hoe, our operator, can load 4 loads per hour. So there's no more on a busy time that we can load more than 4 loads per hour. So there's no way that we have any need for 50 dump trucks. And every driver, when they pull away from the track hoe, they get out with their little shovel and they go around and scrape any excess dirt off the bed. They tarp the load, regardless of what is being said here. And the people that drives those trucks are professional drivers. They drive up and down the road, and they can stay on their side of the road. And there's nobody that drives. If they drive over the speed limit, it wouldn't be more than 5 miles an hour. I don't know what the speed limit is out there, but a heavy loaded truck, it takes you a mile or two to get up to a higher speed. You know, you don't just pull out and sounds down on it and do like you do with a car. And the dirt is good dirt, and we are hoping to complete the pond. And back to the October 31st deadline, I didn't realize, I always thought that the permit was for 6 months, and then the planning director couldn't extend it 3 more months, and he extended it on the previous time in 3 months, and I didn't even ask for it or request it or anything. I thought it was just an automatic thing. If you went through that, they extended it 3 months. And so I didn't realize, or we would have came on in and asked before the 31st of October deadline for an extension.
Mr. Bruce?
Yes.
You've been around long enough to know that there are requirements and that you have to comply with those requirements. And you have a copy of it, and you make sure you read them every time that you're involved in one of these operations, so you'll know exactly what you're supposed to do. How long have you owned the land out there?
About probably 10 years.
10 years. And how long have you been digging dirt for sale at this site?
2 years.
2 years?
Yes.
And where does most of the dirt go to? Who does it go to? These individuals, or you have?
It goes to new home construction.
And have you done some in that subdivision?
Buchanan Estates, we've took a lot of dirt to Buchanan Estates.
Okay. And how many trucks do you have that are operating out there? These are private contractors, is that correct?
Yes, we sell the people the dirt, they bring their own truck. And W.R. Thompson, he has 2 trucks. And the Gamble, Buddy Gamble's son has 2 trucks. And then my nephew has 1 truck. So as a rule, no more than 5 trucks a day.
But you would sell to anyone that wants to purchase,
Yes,
is that correct?
As a matter of fact, we give a little bit of dirt away. Somebody comes with a small truck, we just dump them whatever they need.
Now, you understand the extension is through January,
Yes.
okay? That, from now until January, you don't really have enough time for reclamation of this property, getting all of this done that you think that you can do. You understand that?
Yes.
And what would you do after that date?
I guess we'll quit, you know. That's the only thing we can do, you know, if it expires, which we realize now that it is going to expire, you know, without we get a permanent extension here tonight.
Yeah.
But we will quit and move our stuff. And
You understand the requirements that the county is placing on you for this extension. And you assure to us that you can complete this by the end of January and get out of the business out there.
well, not the end of January of this year, no.
Yeah.
No, and because we still like a whole lot.
Would you ask for additional time after that? Is that what you're saying?
Well, now, the end of January of 2017 or 16, what?
16.
17. Yeah, we can finish up by then, but we can't finish up by the end of January of this year.
Okay.
Mr. Bruce, I haven't heard, your gentleman up before you that works for you said that they all work within the 8 to 5. There's no after hours or whatever. Testimony tonight from the neighbors are that it's going on into the dark with lights on out there and stuff.
Well, it could very well be this time of year because it's getting dark at 4:30.
But the thing about it is, though, your approval is from 8 to 5. And from what testimony is tonight, and you just said very well could be, that it's going on after those hours. Is that a correct statement?
Well, nobody works past dark, hardly. You know, most people are matter of fact.
It's a yes/no answer. It's a yes/no question.
Yes, probably. Probably sometimes there is after dark. And Josh, a lot of times after he quits for the day, then he stays there and services the equipment, you know, fuels, does the greasing and stuff like that. So I'm sure that they do see lights coming out after dark, yes.
But the approval is from 8 to 5, and so your testimony you're telling us is that it is going on after hours.
Well, no hauling.
Work going on over there.
Yeah, maybe servicing equipment or something like that,
Okay,
but
so
no.
your testimony is that it is going on, okay. The other issues that you've got in, I mean, for one, the history that I'm hearing from our engineer here on other, not just this, but others. There's a history here of situations and violations and issues that are going on throughout with the county. Why is it that we can't get those, or you can't get those issues addressed? It seems like there's always something with the planning department going on that they're having to deal with when it comes to your zoning things or whatever. Why is that?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I can clear that up. What that was is the people that was taking down the place for what's the new courthouse gonna be?
The judicial building.
Judicial building and the parking lot. I have a place out in Amble that I've been filling in a swag on my property for 8 or 10 years. And I tell people, you can haul stuff out there and dump it as long as it's not trash. And so these people that was tearing down the Moab bicycle building there in the old Daily News Journal, and they're wasn't supposed to ever go out there and track any mud out on the road. Well, someone called the county and said that we was tracking mud out on the road, and these people had went out there and covered the road up with mud, and that's when they did tell us to quit working out there. And we locked the gates, and the sign is still hanging on the gate, and nobody else goes out there. But as far as I know, that's the only time I've ever had a problem with any of the zoning issues.
You didn't have a zoning issue problem out on No Nashville Highway a few years back?
Well, no, it wasn't a zoning. It was
or an issue with something to do with building codes or the planning department?
Well, what it was, I had a permit to erect storage, and I put about 12 Penske truck beds out there on the concrete slab, and the county asked me to move them and erect the building. So I did that, and I took the Penske truck beds off and put a mini storage there. And the mini storage that I put there wasn't near as good as the Penske truck beds. But
truck beds were in violation of the county ordinance, is that correct?
Well,
Button?
okay.
I was on the BZA at that time, yes, it is. And Mr. Bruce knows that.
I mean,
I should have been put there.
It goes back to what John Davis told me. I asked him before I put them there if it's all right for me to put them there on the slab or railroad containers, and he said it was. And the minute I put them there, and 2 or 3 months down the line, then somebody complained, and then John came along and said that he never did tell me that. So it's I said, he said, you know.
Well, we could elaborate and debate this half tonight probably, but I made my point, and I'll.
Any other questions? Mr. Bruce, you may be seated. Thank you. Appreciate your comments. We'll close the public hearing. Are there any additional discussions that we need to make here?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. With evidence that's been presented here tonight, that there is a violation of things going on out there. He didn't get his deadline of October 31st of 2015. He didn't meet that, and he doesn't know how he didn't meet it, basically. The time, he violated the times of the agreement. He's admitted that in testimony. The testimony from the neighbors out there, the trucks are not being covered. I mean, I don't know, they've seen them, but they're supposed to be covered. And knowing a couple of those truckers out there. There's a possibility that they could be. I don't know. I won't say no or yes on that, but due to the testimony tonight on the hours and on the, his reason he give for not, meeting the deadline, I make a motion that we deny it.
Also, I have, you might want to add to that, I personally got a problem with debris washing off of the property into the river, and even with that possibility that that's happening. This is a terrible sight to be extracting dirt, and that may be the only way of making any money off of it, and that's probably what's going on out there. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, so if we deny it, how long does he have to do this reclamation?
Technically till January 31st.
I think the way the ordinance is written, that within completion of the extraction, they have a certain time frame to reclaim the site. The extraction is for the hauling of the dirt. The permit needs to be active for the hauling of the dirt, but he would be given additional time to stabilize the area according to our borough pit regulations. But that does not allow him to haul dirt off of the site. His hauling would have to cease at the end of January.
Okay, any other discussions, comments?
Well,
I'll entertain a motion on it. For the reasons that you have listed. Okay, do you have all that down? Do you need? Okay. Do I have a second?
Had another reason?
What?
A legal one being that it's, these general requirements, it doesn't meet all of them.
Yeah. Well, that's understood. Those requirements
And
are
I'll
not
second.
being met. And since I haven't accepted the motion yet, and we don't have a second to it, so Gary can add that to his motion. So you second then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other further discussion? Call a roll, please.
Yes.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Veronica Buchanan,
Yes.
Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion denied.
Your attorney, do we
I
need to
seconded that.
do anything different? We'll get our county attorney.
I think I would just want to clarify that, did you say yes, you wanted to add what Jerry said about the conditions? Okay, I just wanted to clarify that he did add that to his motion before it was seconded. Yeah, okay.
Okay. It is denied. The next item of business we have is a request by Jackie Hutchinson, who is requesting a special exemption approval for an accessory structure, and this is before the principal structure is being built. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2016-004, filed by Jackie Hutchins, involves property located off Old Nashville Highway. He is seeking special exception approval for the establishment of an accessory structure prior to a principal structure for property located in the RM zone. The property itself is, I believe it's over 5 acres in its current state, but once it is platted as proposed by the applicant, it will be a 1.4 acre site that will have frontage along Old Nashville. It will be a vacant with the exception of an existing accessory structure that's already located on the property. It's in compliance now in its current configuration simply because it's located on the site with an existing home. However, the applicant has submitted a plat for our review, and the plat cannot be approved until this nonconformity that will be created at the time of recording is corrected. He can either get approval from you to allow the accessory structure to remain on the property, or if this is denied and he still wants to subdivide the property, he would need to remove the accessory structure. We have received informational calls regarding this application. No one has indicated opposition to the request. As a result of the applicant platting this property, he will be installing a fire hydrant at the end of Cooper Drive that will provide some remedies to this particular area. Now, these are sites that are located along Old Nashville Highway, where the frontage on Nashville Highway is, and then the adjacent property. You can barely see the structure from the road because of vegetation, but it is there. We posted the sign on the property. And staff recommends approval.
We have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please.
I'm Jackie Hutchins, and I'm asking to be able to leave a little structure there for horses, a little horse-style barn, and horses goes in there, and my neighbors, all the neighbors around there enjoys the horses. And I have a paper here where I got the people saying that they want they don't mind the barn being on the property, and I'm gonna put a fire hydrant in myself on the dead end of Cooper Drive there because where it butts into my subdivision there. And Cooper Drive does not have Sunnyside subdivision, Cooper Drive, does not have a fire hydrant in that subdivision. So this is going to be, might save somebody's life, and because we done had several fires on Cooper Drive in the last year.
Hey, when do you plan on building this site?
I'm not really sure. I might start on it this year or maybe next year. I'm not really
You do plan on building?
I do, yes, sir.
And how close will this fire hydrant be to the property?
How close will it be to my property? Be right on the corner of my property and the corner of Sunnyside subdivision right in there.
Okay, any other questions? I have a question.
Go. Is the water line big enough to support a fire hydrant?
Yes,
Do you
sir.
know? Is it consolidated?
Yes, it's CUD out there, and I done went and checked, and
Okay,
they said
that's consolidated. Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on it. Close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
I move approval.
Have a motion to be approved. We have a second. Got a second. Call a roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Veronica Buchanan,
Yes.
Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes, it is approved. Next item is a request by Patrick and Don Buchan. And this is a request for establishing of an accessory structure before the principal property. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2016-005, filed by Patrick and Don Buchanan, involves an 11.47 acre parcel located off Lee Road. It's actually located off a private drive off Lee Road. And it is their request that they establish an accessory structure prior to building a principal structure on the property. It's their anticipated timeline of 24 months before their primary residence is built. However, the garage will be 60 by 30 located on this large site. We have received several informational calls regarding this particular request. And you can see it's a large tract of land. The applicant did supply us a survey showing where the proposed structures were going to be located and also where the house site future house would be located. And we found that it met the criteria for.
Have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. You'll give us your name and your plans for building on the property.
My name is Dawn Beauchesne, and I live at 303 Orpha Drive in Smyrna. Our plan initially is to put up the residential garage with the intent to build then in about 24 months. So the residential garage to hold, your big lawnmower and your different equipment needed to build the house.
Question? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. We'll entertain a motion on it.
Move be approved, Mr.
Have a
Chairman.
motion to be approved. Need a second. Got a second. Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Veronica Buchanan,
Yes.
Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes, it is approved. Do we have any other business to come before the board?
No, sir.
You are adjourned. Thank you.